Hello, I'm Jess, and today I'm joined by Mark Sherwood, Fluke's Senior Technical Sales Manager for the UK and Ireland. Welcome.
Thank you.
If you could begin by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about your role at Fluke, that would be great.
No problem. Okay, well, as you say, Mark Sherwood from Fluke. I've been with Fluke now for 6 years, and the role I have now is I'm the Senior Technical Sales Manager, say, for the UK and Ireland. I have 25 years of experience with test and measurement equipment, and trained obviously in a number of different areas, of which we'll talk about today with power quality.
Yeah, so you're here to talk about the 1717 series Power Quality Analyzers. But before we get onto that, I wondered if we could start with a little bit of background. So what is power quality and why is it important to monitor it?
Okay. Well, power quality is what it says. Every industry in the UK, even whether you're at home in your domestic dwelling or whether you're in an industrial commercial unit, you're going to consume power, whether it's just to watch TV or charge your phone or whatever it might be, or whether it's to run a power plant, for argument's sake, and large heavy industrial machinery. We all are using power. And because we're using power, we want to ensure that the power we receive it's clean, it's at the right amount, it's within certain threshold tolerances, and just make sure that obviously we, in most cases, we get what we pay for and we're able to use what we pay for as well. And that's why we have power quality analyzers out on the market.
Thank you. So before we get on to this series of power quality analyzers, could you clarify the difference, if there is one, between power quality analyzers and power energy loggers?
Okay, right. Well, power energy loggers is as simple as it sounds. It looks at the energy that's being consumed by a user. Okay. Again, whether that be a domestic or an industrial user, they all are using energy and they want to quantify and generally put a cost to that consumption. So what people would do is, we even get told today in our domestics, is let's have a little energy meter put in the kitchen somewhere and we can see how much power we're consuming, if you like, and how much we're likely to pay. And that's what an energy logger does. It measures that amount of energy and put a cost to it so that you can say, I've used this. Yeah. And then obviously after you've got some data over a period of time, you can then start to make savings and obviously bring down that consumption. That's energy logging. Power quality looks at the quality of the power that's being delivered to you. It will do energy logging as well, but we start to look at the power quality, the health of that power quality. And honestly, if there are any faults that might happen there or any fluctuations, it's able to analyze that power and capture those events. And again, it would allow you to investigate them further. That's the analysis of the power that you can see it.
So power quality analyzers are like quality and quantity.
Correct.
Power energy loggers are just quantity.
Correct. That's a nice, neat way of looking at it, yes.
So as mentioned today, we're talking about Fluke's 1770 series of three-phase power quality analyzers, which are the 1773, 1775, and 1777.
Yes.
So could you provide an overview of the series and maybe talk about what they're used for and some of their key features and the differences between the models, please?
Well, you're exactly right. We have 3 models in the 1770 series. They all have various little limitations, if you like, in what they do until you get to the top model of the 1770, which that's the one that we have on show here today. Now, the 1770 series is primarily, it's what we call a Class A instrument. It's designed to capture electrical measurements and log them for a period of time and investigate the health of those measurements. And the reason we put it as a Class A is because it samples at the right frequency and captures the data with right time date stamps in order to carry out further investigations in relation to how a utility would deliver that to you. And that's why it's a Class A instrument. The 1773 is our entry level. And again, like most things, it's just about taking down what functionality you might actually need. So do you need fast sampling, for argument's sake? If you don't need fast sampling, you don't need the feature. If you don't need the feature, then obviously there's a cost saving that you would make on this series of the unit. There's other things that we had, like we had communications and the ability for Wi-Fi, etc., and 4G connections. And then, like I say, sampling is one of the most popular ones. So the 1775 has sampling, and then the 177 has fast sampling at 20 megacycles. So again, it's all about what features you need for that. Again, you can see that we have a very robust case behind, and this is just one of the additions that comes with the 1777. It's designed to obviously operate more in the field, primarily targeting the utility sector, and that's why it comes with this hard poly case and obviously the faster sampling that you'd have here on this unit.
So can I just clarify, are they all Class A, or is it just the 1777?
No, they're all Class A instruments. Class A. Yes.
And could you just explain what Class A is again, because I can't quite follow it.
No, that's fine. It's okay. Obviously, when you start to do Class A, what you need to do is you need to be able to sample the data at the relevant speeds and then take enough measurements and record them at a point with a timestamp against it so that it can be utility reference, so they can overlap them to make sure that when you make them comparisons together, they are in sync basically as well.
Okay.
A lot of meters out there will do these measurements but won't log them in the same sampling rate of which the 1770 series does, and therefore obviously that sets it aside from some of the other units that are out there.
Okay, great, thank you. So could you talk about some of the applications of the 1770 series? Energy surveys, load testing, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, energy studies, again, they're carried out by a lot of large plants, and a lot of customers out there need to know what their usage is, basically. So when we have this, we do energy studies typically for a period of a week. The reason we do that is because we wanted to give a good period or a good sample of data and look at that profile for the whole period of a week. And that's why we capture the data on that energy study with this unit. What it will do, it will simultaneously capture voltage, current, frequency, and it will start to look at all the other measurements associated with that. And with this unit, it's going to capture all that data in one simple logging session. Yeah. So that's obviously a primary feature that people like to use. When we start to look at power quality, we start to look at a deeper dive basically into the health, as I say, for the application. And then when you obviously have those additional measurements, you might want to look at the demand. You want to look at things like total harmonic distortion, again, which is a bit of a deeper subject. But again, you want, for the people that are specialists in this sector, they want to do those deep dives into things. They want to analyze harmonics, if you like. And the reason the 177 has come into its own is because it's got this large user interface here where we can show hierarchical information, we can show graphical information, we can have a tabulated bit of information. And again, you can see what's going on whilst you're out in the field. So not only is it a unit you can leave in situ and come back a week later, but you can actually do some, I'll call it interrogation of what's going on at that period as well. And again, it gives you the visual optics as well as the data, so you can make that real analysis in real time there.
And you can see all the data on the screen.
All the data is available on screen through obviously the touchscreen navigations that are here. And again, it's a very nice, neat, colourful layout. And it just allows you to get that visual representation and then see the health of what's going on at any one point in time.
Great, thank you. So would you recommend this for sort of predictive maintenance, troubleshooting, condition monitoring, like?
It falls into all those brackets. All those brackets, yeah. I mean, companies nowadays, they're constantly obviously adding more and more onto their power network, if you like, whether it be an additional of a new piece of equipment that they bring onto the site, to whether they're having an expansion plan, or they're even moving sections of their factory or site around and moving this pit to that part, if you like, and putting this new piece of machinery. So it's critical that they know how that power is being distributed out through that property. What you don't want to do is you don't want to pull more demand over to this side here when you can do with more demand on this side. You want to make sure that everything is balanced and that it's all nice and neat, and that's where these devices come in, because they are a portable tool. You can obviously put it on section A today and then put it on section B tomorrow, etc., and you can move it around, and that allows you to get analysis from all these areas and make sure that your power distribution throughout your site is obviously very balanced and very evenly distributed. With that, you can obviously again start to look at the costs that are being incurred by this analysis as well. So it's a very deep dive piece of equipment that helps you get a good understanding of your plant and how those savings could potentially be being made in the future.
Yeah, so you can analyse, it's quite useful, I suppose, to analyse an entire plant with just one tool.
Of course.
Yeah. Where would you position the 1770 series in comparison to Fluke's other power quality analyzers?
Okay. Well, Fluke at the moment, we've got, as you say, a nice little family of power quality or power energy analyzers. The 1730 is our entry-level unit. We then bought a 1740 series out, which was the same unit almost, but it did not have the touchscreen display.
Okay.
And then we had the 1770 series now, which sits almost at the top of the tree. The reason for this, as I say, it is still that Class A instrument. It's still got the most memory capabilities. It's got the functionality to remotely communicate with it as well, with using 4G data. So again, this can be sat out in the middle of a field in theory, and you could dial into it with those kind of connections. It captures the data in real time. And again, there's a lot of powerfulness within the unit here where it's capturing multiple measurements, as I say, at one single time. So you're never going to miss any data that's relevant for your analysis.
So you would say the 1770 series are for the people who want the most information?
100%. Definitely, yes.
So you sending this to like industrial sites rather than say like office buildings?
Yeah, again, the reason we've obviously got a family of power quality units like we have with the 1730. The 1730 is a great power quality unit, but it doesn't take it to that next level, if you like, as well. So this, as you rightly say, probably leans more towards the top end, the specialists, the real power quality analyzers, and the people involved in utility sectors as well, and heavy industry, because they just want more functionality, they want more accuracy, better sampling for argument's sake, and therefore this one comes into its own in that field. Okay,
thank you. So if you've convinced me to invest in a power quality analyzer, but why should I pick the Fluke Power Quality Analyzer, and particularly the 1770 series, over other available models?
Sure. Okay. Well, Fluke obviously is a brand that you can trust. Obviously, we're very established in this sector as well. Fluke are renowned for obviously their electrical measurement capability and their build quality and robustness. Now, when you start talking about power quality, you could be in all kinds of environments as well. So that is sort of something that Fluke believe in quite heavily, that you get a little bit more than you pay for. Yeah. So with that in mind, obviously you're getting a robust tool, one that's very accurate, one that samples very efficiently, and then added to that, we've obviously got a very useful piece of power software called Fluke Energy Analyze Plus, which enables you to not only get the data out and produce a very useful report, but it can also be used as a tool to download and bring that data in from remotely as well. So there's a lot of power with that software as well. And again, this tool is just one of Fluke's tools in their arsenal of test and measurement equipment. So you're sort of aligning yourself with obviously the brand here, if you like, and all its functionality.
So does it interface with other Fluke tools?
Well, with this one here as well, it's got the option to take in additional measurements using some of the auxiliary inputs as well. Mm-hmm. So yes, there are tools that can be paired with this one as well and synchronized together, and therefore again it can help build up a whole we'll call it a picture, if you like, of the health of an asset or a health of a system. Yeah. And yes, it ties it all in nicely together.
And the software, could you tell us a bit more about that? Does it come with the unit? Is it on the unit? Do you have to download it from elsewhere?
Well, the unit itself is independent of the software, as you'd expect, because it could be based obviously in a remote building in one of the distant corners of the country. And again, the engineer, he's out there, he's testing, it's all hooked up, it's got leads connected for voltage and current, and it's logging away and it's doing its bit there for an hour a day, a week, or even a month. It retains all that data within the memory, absolutely fine. And once you've got that data, you can then extract the data from the unit, either using a hard connection or a Wi-Fi connection, or even, like I say, a 4G connection if necessary. Once you get that, it comes to the software. The software, the Fluke Energy Analyze Plus, is a free software provided by Fluke, and it's regularly updated. And this is the package that we use to interpret the information that we collect from the unit. And it just takes you through it in a step-by-step guide. So you want to look at the job you're doing, what instruments being used, and then you can start to ascertain what information is useful for you. Yeah. And then you would obviously populate out a report, and then obviously use that and prepare that for any customer that needed it. On top of the software, what we find though is that there's always improvements to standards. And as these standards improve, Fluke are obviously working with people in that industry. And what they do is they help us build and populate reports. So you might be interested in IEEE 519, which is a standard the electricity utility standards use. Again, that's a report that can be built into the Energy Analyze Plus and can obviously help do some interpretation of the data that you collect. And there's a number of other standards that come, like G55 standards as well. We're moving towards super harmonics as well, which is like up to the 100th harmonic. This unit has the ability to measure both voltage and current on super harmonics, which sets us aside from some of our competition. So overall...
Why is that particularly useful?
Because it's a very challenging thing to do.
Okay.
Okay, when you traditionally meters are always measured to the 50th harmonic, and what happens is there you want to look at the signatures on both the voltage and the current side. But now we've obviously standards are improving, and we've had more how can we call them, filters if you like, and suppressors put into systems. Obviously that generates more noise onto an electrical system, and therefore those signatures then could ripple further down, potentially up to the 100th harmonic. So with this 1770 series, that's what we're able to do now. We're able to interrogate that a lot further than we have done before. And again, that sets us aside, being able to do that simultaneously with voltage and current.
So he's sort of like ahead of the curve in that sense.
We're trying very much to be there.
Okay, that's great. So I'm just going to fire some quick questions at you, if that's okay.
We'll try.
Okay, so what's the maximum range of these loggers?
Right, okay. What we have is that these...
Measurement range, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, fair enough. What we have with these is obviously they're able to do, obviously, voltage and current, like I say. The units are supplied with some standard clamps here, and these can be at 1,500, 2,500, up to 6,000 amps, basically. So again, those there, you need the relevant clamp to measure the relevant ampage, basically. So again, that would be defined there. So we offer those as extras. Some people even want to measure lower ampages, if you like. So again, we offer supplementary clamps that they had that might be at, 80 amps or even 400 amps again, because people are doing maybe tests on transformers and things like this. So they need options, if you like, as well. But 6,000 amp is the highest CT rating that we go to for this unit.
And it's adaptable. That's what I'm getting.
Yes, they're interchangeable there. That's right.
Yeah. I was about to ask, can they measure harmonics? But you've just covered that. Yes, they definitely can.
They can. Most
how long can they record data for, and at what intervals can they record data?
Right. Okay. The data can be recorded at almost whatever the customer wants and for whatever period the customer wants. But the most popular things people tend to do is they operate to a standard called EN5160, and that is what we call the Power Quality Health Check standard, basically. And that defines logging to take place at set intervals. And because of that, it meets a standard that everybody has accepted as a sort of, how can you say, trusted way and period of logging at set intervals. And this unit will work to that standard. So again, you would set it off on potentially a Monday morning, and you would leave it logging for a full week. So it can do that analysis over the highs, the lows, certain production cycles, weekend shutdown if happened, and then you've got that full period of a week. So that's why most people generally try and leave it to those fit standards. But again, the unit is interchangeable, and you can select wider or shorter logging periods.
What's the range on that? Is it like...
Oh God, if you really expanded the limits to its latest, it would probably do over a year.
Oh wow, okay.
Yes. Not many people will go that far, because obviously, like everything else, you want to get your data on a fairly frequent basis, if you like, as well. Most commonly, like I say, a week is the normal, but because I said this is the a unit that's got this large interface, some people might want to just analyse something they've maybe repaired or done something to a system and look at it for an hour or two potentially and interrogate. So again, the shorter the logging period you want to have, the more samples you could take in principle to do that. Therefore, you could capture more data.
Yeah.
But again, there's no hard and fast with this unless you're operating to a standard.
And can I just check, are there different interval options? So you could do every 5 minutes, you could do every hour? Like...
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I mean, obviously, you want to keep it as narrow, but most commonly samples take place. You have to think that these meters, they're logging continually. It's logging multiple times a second. It's logging. But it's the way in which it actually records that data. So if you've got to think that it's a box of memory and every measurement is taking up a space. So if we log that frequency, so it's always capturing information. So should an event take place in between those logging points, it will still capture that event. And record it because it was an event.
So you can still see that.
So you still see it, and that's what we do. That's why we have this high-speed capture, and it will capture events before they happen, whilst they happen, and when they return back to their normal state.
So you're not going to miss anything.
You're not going to miss a trick.
And are they suitable for single-phase and or three-phase systems?
Yes, they are. The unit is predominantly a three-phase unit, but yes, it can most definitely be used on a single phase. What would happen in a typical scenario is when you go to the location you would set up what we call the topology, of the network and what you do. So like you say, a single phase system, you will put in what voltages are there, what frequency it's operating at, etc., etc. And the same for a 3-phase. You just choose the type of system you're working on, put that into the unit, and then you just set it off login. It's almost that simple.
Can they be used to test generators?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Testing a generator is quite good, actually, and it's quite niche, because what happens is when you're looking at doing a load study or an energy or analysing it, what you're looking at is what's coming out, obviously, and the power that's being consumed. With a generator, you want to know how much that's generating, so you're looking at what it's creating, if you like, as well as what it's being used.
Okay.
So you're looking at the output rather than the consumption. So again, yes, you can.
And do they require calibration?
Most definitely, yes, because it's obviously a unit that's displaying figures, numerical values, and people are using it for obviously referencing points, then yes, we strongly recommend that you have the unit calibrated on an annual basis.
Okay. And where can you get them calibrated?
Well, most definitely you could have them calibrated by PAS.
That's right. So what about data transfer?
Okay.
How can you export or share data?
Okay, well, the unit itself has several modes to extract the data. The unit has a traditional hard method of connection, so obviously a lead from this device to a PC and drag the data in. You could stick a USB in the top of the unit here and obviously just capture the data set there. And again, pull that to PC. If you're on a local network, for argument's sake, you could use a Wi-Fi hotspot and then obviously connect that way. There's a LAN connection in here as well. And the fourth one would be a mobile data one as well. So again, it's got the ability, if you take a data package with it as well that's supplied independently of Fluke, then yes, you could obviously capture the data where the unit was based 50 miles away from where you were sitting. And then you could dial into it and then capture the data that way as well.
Then finally, do they include built-in analysis and reporting functions?
Okay. Built-in analysis, it displays all the results there, but the analysis isn't there.
Okay.
What it's doing, it's going to present you with the information, but the information and taking it to that deeper level to maybe put into a report would have to be done in the software.
Yeah.
For a fault finder that was looking at power quality health, and if he was experienced, which he's most likely to be, he would understand the values that were on the screen and obviously be able to make some recommendations and analyse it himself, and the data would be able to be viewed in some parts graphically as a trend.
Yeah.
Or obviously numerical as well. So yes, there is analysis that can be done, but it's down to the user, that is, to analyse it at that point there on the unit.
Yeah, but it can still be used with the analysis software.
Oh, 100%, yes, of course. It's as I say, it's designed to capture all the data and then pull that through and export it into the Fluke Energy Analyze Plus. And there, obviously, you can analyse it to your heart's content. When you're looking at data here, you're going to be looking at it over a period of time. And obviously, there's multiple channels of data and lots of things to look at. So whilst you can get some highs and lows and points of concern, I would always say that it's best to obviously do a lengthy study analysis on the PC.
Okay, so that's the end of the quickfire technical questions. I just have a couple of questions left to ask, and I noticed that each of the models is available as part of 2 kits, like a complete kit and a basic kit.
Okay.
Please could you explain the thinking behind this and tell us a bit about what's included in each kit?
Okay, well, the basic, long and short, it's basically the removal of Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Not every environment and every location will allow Wi-Fi connections on site, so that's the first one. And then the last one is the clamps that come with it as well, all the CTs. They're removed from the device as well, because people may have a surplus of these or have multiple devices, etc. So, yeah, even the case where not all the clamps are actually necessary. So, yes, that's why we offer them as a basic option as well.
Okay. And could you just tell us a bit more about the clamps?
Okay, well, there are different types of clamps available. We've got them in different sizes. So the traditional one is 24-inch, which is the circumference of the CT itself, and that's rated to a certain ampage. And we have 2 models in that one, and then we have a wider one that's 36 inches, and that goes up to 6,000 amps. So again, it's down to what the customer's application is and what he's going to be testing on that level. And as I mentioned, there are also smaller clamps if people want to look at lower amperages, specifically around less than 40 amps, 50 amps, that kind of area, or even 400 amps or lower as well. So again, we've got specific clamps depending on the application the customer's using it for.
So finally, is there anything else you think we should know about the power quality, the 1770 series power quality analyzers?
The only thing I'd like to add is that it's a very, very simplistic unit to use. One of the nice features of it that I don't think we've mentioned is that the unit itself obviously relies on the user to connect all the leads, whether voltage or current, to the system. And what we have across the top here is a number of obviously LED indicators, and as you can see, sometimes things get put on the wrong way and in the wrong place. And what the unit allows you to do is digitally and auto correct the way it's been hooked up. It just means that should you have some leads inside a panel, you don't need to keep opening these up. If you like, you can correct them on the unit as well. But I just like the way that it's very intuitive, and you can change it from obviously a tableau view to a graphical view, very straightforward. You can capture data, and it's very easy to set up and start logging. So very simple.
Thank you. That was very helpful. That concludes this episode. As ever, you can find more information about the Fluke 1770 series power quality analyzers on our website at www.tester.co.uk. Thank you.